What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of our life in the mornings at our house. I don't know if we have a name for this or what we're calling it, but it's what it is. So we are, I don't know why I look at my phone, I think I know we are 10 weeks out from the first show, which is crazy, which means peak week is 9 weeks away. The exciting part is that last season, this is the exact time that we pulled out of the show. So everything is moving a lot nicer. Everything's moving better, everything's moving smoother. Weighed in this morning at a prep low of 87.6, and I couldn't really go to the toilet properly, so that's fantastic, which means probably another couple 100 grams come off. Chris is happy, I'm happy. The only hard part has been that the wisdom teeth came out on the 7th, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, so that was a nightmare for about 10 straight days. She lied to me, said it was gonna be a 3 or 4 day recovery. It was not a 3 or 4 day recovery. I couldn't sleep for like 5 days and I couldn't eat for like a week. So I lived on a diet of creamies, chocolate protein puddings and cream of rice, which is not great for my stomach. But we're past that now, introducing solid foods again. Still gotta keep it clean and make sure it doesn't get infected or anything like that, so that'll be fun. But yeah, right now it's 10 weeks out, everything's happening, work's getting busy, you guys are signing up and jumping on and doing all the things, which is awesome. Yeah, we're gonna go through some posing this morning, get ready for the gym, training. We've got some work to set up for, and I've got a big day of presentations and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, we'll go through that. Let's do it. Thank you.
Today's theme and what we're going to be talking about, because it's the new year, I want to know about your thoughts on, New Year's resolutions and goals and things like that. Or why do people try and change everything at once? Like I'm talking at New Year's. New Year's comes around, we're changing everything right now.
I think a large part of why they try to change all at once is the New Year's associated with kind of like a fresh start. Like they look at the calendar, it goes back to day one. The energy is kind of like, even historically, philosophically, the new year is kind of looked at as a fresh start, a reset, a change in the calendar or a turnover of the calendar. So it's a time to become, start something new or become something new. And so we kind of put this magical deadline or starting line to January 1st. But the other side is that people have no experience at understanding health, nutrition, training, physiology. And so their only logic is the extremes that they've seen or the polarity they've seen on TV, on advertisements, on programs, of challenges. And that usually comes with, scrapping carbohydrates, dropping diet sodas, having no alcohol, never smoking again. The thing is that always amuses me is that they have no history of pulling that off for more than 2 weeks. But they think if they do it all at once, it's gonna work. So I think a large part is like the New Year window. It's kind of like this magical period where it's a time for fresh starts, it's a time for starting over, it's a time for trying something new. Everyone's doing the same sort of thing, so you have kind of like this collective belief in the new year as this magical date. And then the extremity of it is that they only understand extremes, they only understand the all or nothing approach, which has never served them, but that's what they know and that's what they tried every single year. It's the same thing. And that generally leads to dropout, burnout. Statistically speaking, I think by next week, 80% of people have dropped their New Year's resolution. And so it kind of leads to the same outcome every single time. But yeah, that's a large part of why I think they try it and a large part of why it fails. Instagram agreed. That's how all data is accumulated now. That's research.
Oh, okay. Well, speaking of that, do you think social media makes the resolutions worse?
Oh, makes resolutions worse. Yes, because I think everyone tries to keep up with the Joneses. So if the friend group is trying to do this thing, or like everyone's trying to drop, carbs or cut out, do keto, do paleo, they're gonna start a Pilates challenge. They're not they're not goals that outside of social media most people would have tried, or if they are, they're extremes of what they would try. So I think for the most part, if people just kept their goals to themselves relatively and just aim towards them over time, they would have a much better success rate than blasting them all over social media. Because what tends to happen when we put them on social media is you get the dopamine hit and the encouragement and the reward before you actually achieve the thing. So there's no longer an incentive to want to achieve it. So if you keep it more private and only share it with people around you instead of social media, I think you'd have a much better success rate than how much we put everything over social media before we actually do the thing. It's an interesting sort of reward loop that we've created by posting before we do it, and then we get excited about it, and then we don't actually finish it and follow through.
How many actually?
2.
2 C4s a day. Okay, but the C4s are only 160 milligrams caffeine.
Exactly.
How many coffees a day with that?
No, I'll usually do 1 coffee or a C4 or 2 C4s.
And a pre-workout on training days as well.
Yeah. Well, no, training days I'll do half a scoop of pre-workout.
Yep.
So I do half a stim plus half a non-stim, or a serve of non-stim. And then after that I'll do a C4, which takes me about 320, and then a coffee.
Oh, we need to do a vote. Does Ben take too much caffeine? That's
no way, that's sub 400 milligrams of caffeine. That's plenty. That's sufficient. Going with your friends?
Are you gonna do your posing routine here, bro?
Yeah, right here.
Just that one.
That's what we're here for.
All right, I'm ready.
This is my house.
What actually changes in 4 weeks for someone starting something new? Like, what actually does change?
If it's done properly, the biggest thing that will start to change will be their identity, their beliefs. They'll start to develop some motivation. I don't mind a 4-week challenge if it's purely used as like a starting off platform or like a launching platform to actually start making change. When you try to shift everything internally for 4 straight weeks and you try to do it all at once, it's obviously too fast and things tend to implode. But if you can make some basic changes, you'll start to get some momentum, lose a little bit of weight, but it's mostly the internal stuff that will shift in those 4 weeks that sustains it. So that's where a lot of the work we try and do is around systemization and baseline behaviors, so that if someone is trying to make those changes, it's not everything all at once rapidly overwhelming them and they collapse. It's more, what's the easiest stuff we can modify inside the life they currently live that will return a quick win so they'll feel successful, and then with that starts to develop autonomy and belief of competence, which then turns to confidence, which will then get them motivated to keep going. So the first 4 weeks really are about the internal change more than it is about the external change. Some people just need to see the external change to get the reward and feel driven, but generally in that first 4 weeks we're trying to shift mentally the idea that the 4 weeks is going to solve the problems. A lot of the time those 4 weeks are going to be, in their head what's going to change their entire life. For us, it's going to get them to shift and understand that this is just the start of changing their life.
Would you say it's the most important stage, the first 4 weeks of that change?
It's going to depend client to client. So you'll have some clients that they'll need a quick structured win. You'll have some clients that'll need like long-term buy-in. So it all depends on who you're working with and how you're working with them. But yeah, generally in those 4 weeks, whether it's to get rapid loss to make a change quickly or whether it's to get someone to change their identity, the 4 weeks does make a difference. It is important, but it's hard to say it's the most important. It's just dependent on the type of client that you're working with.
Why do people statistically fail their goals?
Statistically fail their goals. Some of the biggest reasons. Well, interestingly, there was a study done. It was claimed to be the Yale study, and interesting extrapolation from that was Harvard tried to reproduce this study because no one could find the original data set to back this up. There was this Yale study that claimed that people who wrote down their goals, shared with friends, connected to their values, and looked at it every single day, increased goal success potential by, I think it was about 75 to 80%. Funny thing is, Harvard couldn't find the data set to back this up, so Harvard reran the same study based on the control groups they had. And a lot of this turned out to be quite true for what was a data set that they couldn't actually be traced or found. And what they found is when they controlled for the group that did nothing but just basically set a goal, they took the concept of this study and reconstructed it. So you had groups that wrote things down, like wrote their goals down clearly, groups that shared it with their friends, associated with their values as an individual, or paired their values to their goals, or aligned their goals with their values, sorry. There was then people, the group then that looked at it every single day, and then groups that reflected on them and basically refined them over time. And what they found was the people who did all of them combined increased the achievement of their goals potential, the success of their goal, by 65 to 80% inside that final group. And so a lot of that can be concluded that a lot of people when it comes to goal setting make wishes, or they have hopes. They don't actually have goals. So when you look at it properly, what is a goal but basically a predefined success criteria destination that you are trying to achieve that is somewhere in the future based on where you are now. So something that I want to achieve long term, that I'm going to sacrifice things now or trade off things now in order for me to get to where I want to go. If you don't have that clearly written down, clearly defined, and understand what that success looks like, you can't actually get there. It's more of like one day I'd like to own a Ferrari. Cool, that's a hope. That's maybe a dream. That's not an actual goal to achieve something. If I were to say, by 2030 I want to own a Ferrari, I'm going to budget for the $300,000 that go, or $500,000 that goes into it. What does that look like? I need to increase my leverage in my position. So I'm going to need to increase my financial income. I'm going to need to decrease expenses. I'm going to need to save $100,000 a year, or increase this much, reduce expenses going out of it, so I have a net profit to put away and make this happen year on year. Compound the interest and basically be able to leverage that, borrow money to buy the car. That all becomes tangible checkpoints that I can tick off that helps me move forward towards that goal. I can't do that if that goal is not specifically written down and broken down into chunks. The unfortunate side is people say, I want to lose weight this year, I want to get healthy, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to stop drinking, I'm going to go to the gym. Those are statements void of any tangible data or checkpoints. They're aspirations and hopes, they're not goals. So the main reason why a lot of people fall off is they just make a statement. They don't actually set goals. In order to increase that likelihood of success, you need to write it down. You need to be clear on what it is. You need to have a defined success criteria. You need to have values as an individual that align with the goals you're setting. You need to be able to share it with people and know that they're not going to step on it, they're not going to talk down to it, they're not going to talk you out of it. Do those things and then look at those goals every single week to know that you are moving forward, review them quarterly, and you'll actually start to see momentum and start to project yourself towards that outcome. That is how a goal becomes successful.
And would you say that consistency is the hardest part of progress?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have high bursts of intensity, low yield of consistency. Obviously, our three big values as a company is purpose, consistency, intensity. You can't have success without any of those three. You can't achieve a result without any of those three. But at the same time, people will look at 2 to 3 weeks worth of work and go, I did everything that I could. I don't understand why I'm not there yet. It's because you gave you might have given 100% effort for 2 to 3 weeks, but the goal itself might have required 80% effort for 12 months. So the consistent application of that effort is what matters over time. You're looking at these bursts and these sudden outbursts of inspiration, and you've got this external motivation of something that's come up and you want to achieve this certain thing because everyone else says it's cool. It's the consistent effort applied over time that is going to yield the result, that's going to push you forward. But a lot of people lack the ability to give that because they think it's got to be 100% all or nothing straight away from week 1 to week 3. They can't sustain it because they never have. They burn out and drop off. Whereas perhaps giving 70% consistently for 6 months, 12 months, will yield a much better result and move you forward than if you give 100% for 3 weeks and then you drop out because you can't handle it. So consistent application is a huge part of goal achievement. It's just understanding that you probably can't give 100% for 12 straight months of pure intensity and effort. It just doesn't work that way. All right. This is better than Nutella. Leo Cocoa Belgian white chocolate hazelnut spread. It tastes like Kinder Bueno melted. It's pretty good.
And is it nutritionally better as well?
It's about the same macros. It's a little bit higher in fats, carbs. But I only do like 10 grams a day in cream of rice.
And then you put that in cream of rice now?
Yeah.
Do you? Yeah. And what's on the menu? What are we making now?
Cream of rice for pre-workout. Rice and veggies for today's meals. Now that I've got Whole Foods going back in. And then I'm still doing... doing chicken mince. That was already cooked yesterday, but doing chicken mince instead of like breast at the moment, just because easier to digest and chew at the moment still. Just finding foods that I need to gradually move up or like phase out with the jaw and the teeth. But at the moment, it would move to chicken mince instead of chicken breast, and I'll just graduate back to that when time comes.
One knuckle?
First finger. Yeah.
What would you say, Ben, to the I'm never drinking again crowd? Do they end up drinking again?
They 100% not drink it again. They're lying to themselves. Most people, one of my favorite strategies I use for people to drink is, actually one of my favorite things about people that work with us that tend to drink is they naturally tend to phase out alcohol because the goals they require, weekend drinking, weeknight drinking, doesn't serve the goal they're trying to achieve. So because they commit financially, it's illogical to keep paying for something and actively work against it. So they naturally start to phase out alcohol because they start to realize that it doesn't serve their goals. It's a poison. It's not doing anything productive for the life they're trying to achieve. But it doesn't start out as me saying, hey, cut out drinking forever from day one. There's no alcohol. It starts with, hey, let's make some rational decisions and choices that's going to serve your goals and still allow you to be social. A lot of the time, it's just giving them strategies and frameworks. So instead of saying, hey, we're never drinking again, what I tend to give them is more of a boundary to stay in. I want you to dictate how many drinks you're going to have this year. So, this evening. Might be 5, might be 6, might be 3 to 5, might be 2 to 4, whatever it might be. You dictate, you're taking control of the situation, you're not being passive and reactive. And then inside that, I'll say, all right, well, between drinks, I want you to have a bottle of water and I want you to have a diet soft drink. So those 3 to 4 drinks end up spacing out 4 to 5 hours, 6 hours, because they've also taken time to have water, have a Pepsi Max, because Pepsi Max is better than Diet Coke, and an alcohol. So they put that rotation in. Now they're having 12 drinks to what would have been the 4 that they said they were going to have. They just don't have the fluid capacity to then keep drinking more and more without feeling full and uncomfortable. So by the time they get home, they're probably more hydrated than they left. And they've only had 4 drinks instead of 12 or 15 or 20. So a lot of the time you're not going to give up drinking straight away. Don't lie. You've said that 100 times in the past. It never happens. It's more about finding strategies that allow you to do the thing you still want to do whilst working towards your goals. And eventually you naturally reduce or subtract alcohol from the process anyway. So yeah, you're never really just going to quit alcohol, cold turkey. If it was that easy, you would have already done it. So this will be 2 meals worth for me. 500 veg, 100 grams of rice. It'll cook both at the same time. It gives my full day's serves of vegetables. Grains. It's a complete meal. Don't have to add anything else to it except water to the rice. The steam from that cooks itself. Now it's going to cook. The steam from cooking the rice is also going to cook the vegetables. It's going to stay warm. I then, by the time we finish this, have 2 meals ready to go and they're cooked.
And would you, when this is your meal, do you do this every morning, just so it's fresh for the day? Or have you ever done, like, you do bulk meal prep as well?
It depends how busy we are. Like generally Brooklyn's cooking my food. If she's got a big day, might do 2 days worth so that we don't have to keep coming back to the kitchen. But even still with a rice cooker, depending on the rice cooker brand that you have, you can leave it warm. Like you can stay in like the warming mode so that you have fresh food ready to go. It's just, you can take the time, like if you're in here making a morning coffee, you're getting your breakfast ready, or you're getting the kids' food ready for the day, you can also get yours ready in the background. It takes care of itself. You can also then, once this is out, steam cook 2 or 3 breasts and have 2 days worth of chicken. So again, it's for people to try to understand, it's not trying to make things complicated or add these fancy meals and these crazy amounts of nutrition to things, or these unrealistic strategies and expectations. It's finding the simplest way to add something to your life that doesn't disrupt things and reduces the most amount of friction. So if I can do 2 or 3 things here, she can do 2 or 3 things there, we can get ready for the gym, and then all of a sudden the morning's done, we're good to go. Pre-workout, creatine, glutamine, and some amino acids and some salt. All right, so clearly, pre-workout meals made, pre-workouts are done. 2 meals for the day of cooking. Creamies are in the freezer already. So most of the day's nutrition is taken care of in 15 minutes. It's not that complicated, folks. I wonder how many of those carbs down there if you look up here and see this. Thank you. So, as you can see, obviously, drastic improvements over the last sort of 4 weeks. We're still 10 weeks out, dropping substantial weight each week, which is good. So, Chris will probably look at refeed soon, slow things down a little bit. We'll see how the body normalizes after all this wisdom teeth and food changes and supplementation changes. But yeah, we're well and truly in striking distance now of stage. Still more fat to come off my glutes, legs, lower back. Stomach has a little bit more thinning out to do, but comparatively to where I was last time and the condition that we pulled out at, so 10 weeks out, this is substantially improved from where we were. So very happy with that. Easily going to be, we've still got to obviously get on stage and make it happen, but easily from this point here, it's going to be the best look that I've ever brought to a stage, which was the goal for this season. Wherever that stacks up, like I'm going there to win, obviously. That's what I always do. But, this is definitely laying the foundations for what will be the next season after this and the season after that. So getting to this level of condition will allow us to resensitize, come out of the prep, come out of the shows, put food back in, get healthy, and then we blow up and get ready for ideally what will be my heavyweight debut the next time I'm on stage. So hopefully another 10, 15 kilos of stage weight in the course of the next 2 years. So yeah, eat that banana, Brooklyn.
How much time do you actually spend on like coming in and just like locking in just to read, or have you do you set a time? Okay, today I'm going to try and get through so many pages of this, like any of these books in particular? Like how?
So a lot of these are university textbooks. So I've read them, done them, used them for like degrees for study. I'll try and use I'll use most of these during semesters.
Yep.
I'm pretty good with memory recall. So like in the sense that most of that stuff I'll probably digest, absorb, and use in the ways that it's needed. Books will depend on like where we are currently and what I'm trying to work on or improve. So like these are more like life development books, coaching development books. So things like The Inner Citadel is a shorter version of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Art of Resilience, Jordan Peterson's works. Relentless by Tim Grover. Coach to Coach in the High 10. 2 books that I could not recommend to coaches trying to understand culture more. I'll read these depending on what we're trying to build up or improve and get better at. 11 Rings by Phil Jackson. The Score takes care of itself. Again, trying to improve my philosophy around coaching, what I want to learn. It won't be per se like I'll read this much per day or like I'll need to come and lock in. It'll be like, where are we? What do I need to do and how do I need to slow down? So during semesters, I'll try and do more reading. Out of semesters, I'll try and do more business work to catch up on things we're behind on because of semester and uni. So it's definitely something that it'll depend on where we are in the year and the season and what I need to learn more on. The things like food and nutrition, whilst it was a $160 textbook I read twice because it was just such basic stuff that even the readings they gave us at campus already knew.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, eh.
Do you think that the reading is overrated if people don't apply anything?
Oh yeah, I can't stand the intellectual without application. There are so many people that, and this goes to self-development, it goes to study, it goes to literature, it doesn't matter. There are so many people that get caught up in the nuance of they want to be seen reading the thing. They don't want to actually apply the thing they've read. Whereas the ironic part is to encode memory properly, application of the learning is one of the fastest ways to lock it in and actually learn it. So for me, rather than spending all of my time doing self-development, I'd rather take the development I've done and put it into practice, see how it works, stress test it, pressure test it, real world application, see if it holds up, decide if I want to keep it or basically let it go and just be done with it and know that I tried it. A lot of people will read all these books and they'll, buy all the new books, buy all the new, master classes and workshops, apply none of it, and then wonder why nothing's got better. And they'll say, I'm self-developing. No, you're just ego jerking your own psyche by saying you're developing yourself, but you haven't actually applied anything to know if it's worth it. So that's where I think a huge misconception of self-development and the literary work is that people want to be seen reading it, they want to be seen doing it, but they don't want to actually apply it. And it is applied learning that is really what locks it in and actually encodes it properly.
Yeah, no follow through.
Exactly. Big thing, huge thing that I think people get wrong is they don't spend enough time reading this stuff.
Are they history books?
History books.
Yep.
Just history in general. The phrase is that those who don't pay attention to history are doomed to repeat it. There's so much to be learned in history and how it applies and the cycles that we repeat ourselves that more people need to spend more time understanding it and put perspective to it compared to what we currently do. Mm-hmm. It's just worth its weight in gold and people just don't bother trying to pay attention to it.
Yeah. Well, why do you think guys, because I've tend to notice that it's more, once we get to our age where we really start to get into history books and things like that. Because back at school, back at school myself, I was like, oh, history, that's the past. That's who wants to...
See, funnily enough, I loved history. History was two of my top performing subjects in school. But I think why it gets that sort of period at our age bracket now, where it's like 30 to 40 plus, is guys start to get to this point of time in what I call is the first question of self-development, and that is this all there is? So we'll start to ask this more philosophical internalized question because we spend so much time as guys internalizing things. We don't externalize problems. We don't externalize our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our problems. We do tend to do a lot of introspective or internalization and repression. It gets to a certain point where the questions start to become more introspective just out of sheer necessity and demand. Is this all there is? Am I doomed to repeat this? Is this what my life is for the next 30 years? And we start to ask these questions, and then from that comes curiosity. And a lot of the time we seek comfort because the future is unknown, right? There is a unknown aspect to the future that we can't predict. We can best guess, we can assume, we can attempt to apply, but the only way to really know for certain is to look at what's already happened. And the best way to look at what's already happened is to go back in history and see where it's been applied and been done. A lot of things, like there is still, battle tactics and strategy that generals and commanders such as Alexander the Great put into practice that are still taught in military schools now. So, that's thousands of years old strategy and techniques that he used that they're still teaching in military doctrine. So when you look at that and you go, well, there's application still now in the implementation of things they did back then, that gives me certainty or at least an awareness of what was. How do I take this and use it now instead of trying to best guess or assume or try to predict something that I can't actually predict? So the future is, a lot of the time the future is scary because it's unknown. The past is comforting because it's predicted, it's happened, it's true, it's real. We can look back at that as evidence or certainty of something that's taken place. So I think a lot of guys start to ask deeper questions as we get older. And then with that, the best way to find those answers is to look back at where it actually took place. We also get into hobbies like Pokemons. So I've started, for everyone playing at home, my new goal this year is to finish, not this year, but my new goal, I've got most of my base set of the 151, including first editions. My goal and everything that has a label to it are ones that I need to replace or fill in or fix. So I've got a bunch of like missing gaps or whatever, but my goal for now that isn't bodybuilding or business related is to recomplete and upgrade my original 151 Pokemon in all the holographics. So this is probably my prize card. First edition Machamp, holo, in pretty near nick condition. If I were to get that graded, it'd be close to $20,000.
Wow, and you've actually labeled like what's
so this is in order of 151. So this is like I need to get. This is exactly how the order of number of release of Pokemon from 1 to 151. It's exactly how it's like laid out in the actual Pokédex. And yeah, these are the ones I need to either upgrade, replace, or get my hands on.
How are we going to get them?
How are we going to get them?
Like how do you do it?
Achieve goals and then use those as rewards. Or do you mean like how do I obtain them?
Yeah, like physically, how are you going to obtain them?
A lot of people
where do people, can you just go out and still buy Pokemon cards? Is it like a
So the original base sets are
underground?
very expensive.
Yeah.
If they were to still be wrapped, like I'm talking $500-$600 a pack.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to just simply try and collect, like I like singles. Singles to me are, that's the fun part. Like people have confused the hobby now with gambling. They rip the cards to try and get the chase card or like the holo card that is worth money that they can try and grade and sell. That's gambling. You are gambling by trying to see what 11 cards are in there and hoping that one of them is a high worth aspect. But for me, I want to actually obtain certain cards. So I'll go out and buy singles, find singles that I like, find singles that I want to fill in. Marketplace, eBay, there's apps called things like Collector that let you buy and trade and sell and evaluate your cards in your deck. So there's people all the time that are either like moving on from the hobby, trying to sell the hobby, grandma who found their grandson's old deck from 40 years ago or 20 years ago that they don't want anymore and don't realize what it's worth. So you can always find random things like that. But a lot of the time now, you will pay a higher price margin because people are aware of the hobby now, but there's still people that will sell, I've got 20 of this card, I need that card. What if I trade you one of these and a couple of other things and you trade me that card? So it's just getting into the hobby community and seeing like what someone has. And either like, usually they'll say, I'm open to trades and cash on top. So it might be like, I've got this Gyarados, you have this one, I need 3 of these cards, you have them. I'll trade you my secondary for these plus cash on top because mine's worth more. That'll help me complete my deck. So that's kind of how I'm trying to approach it, is rather than going out and buying like thousands of packs and hoping that I draw, I just buy singles that I actually like. Oh. Ready. That's a 75-year-old spine, folks.
As a coach, can you tell early on with who is going to stick with it? And if you can, is it like at what stage? Is it like a first initial consult, or do you get like maybe a month in and you realize, oh shit, like they're not who they said they were or going to commit to?
Yeah, so one of the things that I spent a lot of time working on is refining our pre-screening, we're almost calling them confirmation calls now. So we don't do mass onboard, large intake, large volume like sales. That's not how we run our business. When we get to the point of the consult call, a lot of the time it's more confirmation that we align with each other and that we're working in the same direction. It never used to be that way, but I spent so long getting frustrated by people that would promise the world to themselves. Most of this, what agitated me was they promised themselves these big goals, and then the second something got hard, we'd pull out or change their mind. The thing to me that's most upsetting is when I see someone with potential not act on it. It's very frustrating. I don't like the incongruence of it because it doesn't make sense in my head. Whether you want to call that a degree of developmental issues, I don't know. But one of the things we do now is have a very detailed pre-screening system so that there's a lot of questions, a lot of deep answers, a lot of introspective thought that people have to put in. The clients that we have seen achieve the most result and stick around the longest with us, meaning like their retention is close to 30 to 50 weeks. The ones that really stick it out long term and get the best results, take the time to fill in the answers, answer the questions as detailed as possible, give me as best answer as possible. The thing that is screening for is not, hey, these guys can answer large questions or like put long answers. It's that they're willing to take the time to invest in themselves by giving me the most amount of information. So people that I can see invest in that effort and time
are willing to invest in themselves and willing to put the effort in, it tells me a lot very early on about how much their values align with us and how much they align with our system, because we're not a short-term 6-12 week transformation package. We're an entire identity, lifestyle, and human overhaul system that uses physical development to change the person. So if they're willing to invest early in the effort before we even get to the sale, it tells me that they're very much in what behavioral change calls the contemplation or action stage of change. They're ready to make the difference. They're ready to make the change. They're ready to commit. And generally that comes with a follow through of action. When I find someone put in next to no effort, or their answers are very small and they leave like questions blank, it's a bit of a red flag to me before we get started. Either they need a bit more motivational interviewing and more conversation around why it matters to them, or they're just simply not as ready as they thought. And it's a good vetting system for us to kind of like say, hey, we're not the right fit. So I'm big on talking people away from working with me if they're not going to align with how we do things. I don't want to take money for no reason. So if I can see that early on, hey, we're probably just going to spend 12, 20 weeks wasting cash here, I will tell you, and then you can either say I'm wrong and prove me wrong, or, you know, I'll redirect you to someone who might be more of the short-term, short burst of coaching style. But I'm not big on taking cash as a cash sake. I'm not big on people working with us for no reason. There is an endeavor here to change, and that's what I want to see happen. So we use the pre-screening now very heavily to see if that person aligns with us. All right, guys. So we've got a big day today. Wrapping up here. Got our morning started. Meal prep's done. Done some posing practice. Done a cardio. So a lot of the basic non-negotiable stuff of prep gets done early in the morning, or gets it out of the way so we can roll on with the day. You know, we've got workshops today. We've got business consultations. We've got massages. We've got admin work to get done. So there's a lot of stuff on the Wednesday that gets muddied and dragged on. So make sure a lot of the work is out of the way early so that we can get through that without missing any of the non-negotiable prep stuff. From here, obviously, keep following along. We're getting closer and closer to show day. We're doing more and more day in the life content. We're doing more and more of the training footage and behind the scenes stuff. We want to get you guys to show you what happens, what goes into it. But yeah, so you followed us along for the morning. Make sure you like, subscribe, drop a follow. You know, if you have any questions or stuff that you find that you're curious on, let us know and we'll drop it into the next vlog and try and attack those and give you guys even more behind the scenes. But otherwise, yeah, coaching spots are available. We're not closing coaching spots because of prep. That'll happen maybe closer to the show where I just need to lock in and focus. But for right now, spots are available. Make sure you book in a consult. Make sure you get started. Get going. Don't wait to the end of the year. Don't wait till the middle of the year to start over again. Chances are you're probably struggling now with those goals you set January 1st. Let's lock in and get those working together, and we'll tackle those as a team. So let's do it.